Hi, my name is Jim Tolles. I'm a spiritual teacher and I blog regularly at spiritualawakeningprocess.com. And today I want to talk about awakening in food. This can be one of those big shifts that happens for a lot of people because with the awakening comes the realignment to everything, including your body. And it can be very shocking for a lot of people to suddenly realize that they have no idea of how to nourish their bodies. And this is pretty common, especially in a culture that has gotten lost in fast food and junk food and all kinds of other impure sources of nourishment. And it's strange to hear it put in those sort of terms because, like, well, it's just what I like to eat. And it's like, the way we're eating now is unlike any way that any human being has eaten for thousands of years. Because you didn't have all the stuff that was in the food that we've got now. Before it was just you had your farm and your garden and you knew exactly where your food was coming from. You knew the process that it took to get to your table. And you knew what was, for the most part, kind of in the ground because you put it there. If there's fertilizer there, you put it there. And that fertilizer is usually from like animals, and so you knew what was going on with it. Now we have no idea. And we have all sorts of refined sugars and different things and fats and oils that are added into it and preservatives and all these different things that are going into the food that we're eating. And when you wake up, your body is suddenly saying, this is what I really need to be nourished. This is what I really need to be healthy. And this is a big shift for a lot of people. It can go the other way too, where if somebody's been vegetarian, but they're into the idea of being vegetarian, they're doing it because they think it's right or whatnot. The body can suddenly wake up and say, you know what, I do need some meat. I need some chicken or a little bit of fish, once a week, once a month, once a day. It's just whatever your body really needs comes forward and it says, this is what I need. And your ideas, right? This is the big thing. It's the ego idea. It's like, I'm not saying being vegetarian is good or bad or anything. I'm saying ideas around how you should be get blown up. They're just not real. They're this conceptual game that we try to play. And in many respects, the body has really suffered a lot because of all the ideas that we've had around it, including beauty. If you have a lot of different ideas around how to be beautiful, and that involves like eating less or starving yourself or binge eating or other very unhealthy ways of being, that'll all change. Some people may gain quite a bit of weight suddenly just because their body is realigning. And it can be kind of this messy, out of sorts period where you're like, I don't know what I want to eat too. I don't know exactly what's right for me. And that can go on for a while depending on how traumatized the body is and how much it's trying to kind of heal things before starting anew. Other people, they may drop a bunch of weight because suddenly, you've got this wealth of internal energy connecting you to everything. And you may suddenly found out that you're a very emotional eater. And if your emotional needs are suddenly met, then suddenly you're just not that hungry anymore. And so then, weight drops down. And it's just this whole kind of up and down sort of thing may happen for people as they go through this shift. A lot of different foods are going to kind of come and go. And as I said, there can be periods where like one food or one type of nourishment becomes more important for a while. And then it fades and then there's kind of this leveling off. And then you're kind of more or less more comfortable with how you need to nourish yourself. I've definitely had different ebbs and flows of what I want to eat. And I've found, a lot of food just kind of got thrown right out the window. And some foods, you can kind of get back for a while, and some, will leave again. Usually around like the stuff that isn't as healthy kind of comes and goes depending on like if, the rest of you is nourished. So like, I can do ice cream from time to time, and it usually is the more healthier ones are organic ice cream. But some of the stuff with more preservatives in it, I just won't touch. It makes me feel sick. And I don't want to have anything to do with it. Hamburgers, I don't touch those things anymore. I used to eat tons of those hamburgers and hot dogs and marshmallows and all kinds of different food. Soda pop. I mean, these are the things that we're taking for granted as now these are okay to eat. These are healthy or something or normal, and they're not. They're really not how most of society's eaten for millennia. It's really in kind of last century that a lot of these things have been created. And I'm not trying to demonize them. I'm just trying to point out that, when you're living on these things, it's just not what your body really needs. It doesn't need all that fat and, salt and sugar and the different things that are in there. And ultimately, we all kind of know this. With water, it becomes a really important piece because it's usually part of the purification process. And it can come to somebody who is in awakening. And I always like to take a moment to step back and talk about awakening very briefly, and I hope you've seen my awakening video because then you understand what I'm talking about. Where awakening, generally speaking, is like a big switch goes on and you see the mess in your house. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to clean up that mess. That's part of a choice, although a lot of us also feel kind of this pressure, this sudden urge to clear out and to heal these spaces of our life. A lot of people who are in very toxic situations can also be drawn towards water because they're intuitively trying to purify. But if you're in that toxic situation, you have to heal it and you have to leave it, or whatever is going on with you that's creating that toxicity, where there's counter urge to clean out, right? So that's part of what water does. And during some of my more intense shifts where I'm really letting go of something, suddenly it's just like I can't drink enough water. So that's actually a really, really important piece, and it's something to pay attention to, honor. And it really, I don't think, can be substituted by anything else, because water is the purest form of that liquid that we need. Fruit juice is okay, but you're not going to drink as much of that. And definitely, like, a lot of the sodas and coffee and things like that aren't going to help you that much. Coffee, I've heard different things about with, like, for some people, they do drop it out of their diet, and for others, it actually becomes a means of kind of stabilizing, the ups and downs of the shift and how they're feeling. And I'm kind of wishy-washy about that. I'm always very pragmatic. Say, do what you need to do to get through the day at certain points, if there are difficult things that you have to do, because, I don't know, you still have to work a job and you're having an awakening. Sometimes coffee can kind of settle you down a little bit so you can manage what you got to manage, then come back and take care of yourself. But really, my encouragement for a lot of these things is make the space in your life to take care of yourself regularly, because this is a sacred time. This is a sacred shift. And, this is also kind of one of those doorways in your life where you've got a little bit more of that impetus to change and to really open and to really be you. And that's the gift of it. And really the gift of, like, going back to the awakening of food topic in general, is that you're going to feel a lot better. And it becomes so stark. Like, if I drink alcohol, I just feel sick and low energy and yucky. And it's like, why do I want to do anything with this? Which is, for the reason, for the most part, why I don't drink alcohol at all anymore. It's just not fun. And this can be very illuminating for a lot of people who've used alcohol as a social means, who's used it as a means to feel good or to be themselves. And alcohol, it lowers your inhibitions. But if you've already kind of cleared those fears out of yourself, then it doesn't serve that same function, because you can kind of be any different way that you want to be. That's the gift of awakening. And so you knock out those means that alcohol has been supplying, and suddenly it really has no use at all. And it really is just a poison, right? We use alcohol for other things like sterilizing stuff. What does sterilization mean? It's killing bacteria. It's killing stuff. And that's really what it's meant to do. And instead, we've been drinking it and killing ourselves. It doesn't mean that if you still drink alcohol, you're doing anything bad, right? This is not a new idea framework to get lost in. All right, this is just kind of a way that I'm offering so you can understand what's going on, where suddenly you were eating one way one day, and the next day all you want to do is eat kale. Right? And so part of you is like, what's going on? I thought I was eating fine, and you weren't. And that can be a humbling realization. And I think a lot of us, after all, you just have to laugh. It's like, yep, I didn't know what I was doing. But it was what we were taught. It's what we had to begin with. And you learn to have that compassion for yourself. Like, this is what I knew at the time, and now I know something new. And knowing that something new allows me to come into my life with much more integrity, much more awareness, and say, okay, this is what I need now, and I can let go of the way I was before. So you may start experimenting with new recipes and getting help from other people, who've got recipes or want to cook for you. I'm still looking for that, I think. That would be awesome to have somebody cooking more food for me, because I'm still figuring it out as I go, and I've been in this process for several years. It's just things change and grow, and our bodies change and grow, and our needs change, and that's actually part of a lifetime anyway. Our bodies can have different demands at different times, right? And so once again, it's coming back to this constant change and embracing that change in ourselves so that we can continue to meet our own needs as appropriately, as opposed to trying to sit within a rigid idea of what we should eat and how we should be and how we should take care of our bodies. So those are some general ideas about awakening in food. As I said, it is learning how to really nourish yourself. And even if you've eaten really healthy, it can change dramatically depending on what you need in the moment. And that's okay. And I just encourage you to embrace that and to find some peace and relaxation in that. It'll come, it'll come, it'll come and it'll go as it is needing, and then it'll settle out. And then you just kind of know how to nourish yourself, and you'll be very clear about it. Once again, my name is Jim Tolles. I hope this is helpful. You can always find out what I'm talking about at spiritualawakeningprocess.com. Have a great day.